Hi, I'm Dr. Dan Ratner. As we explore the mind-body connection and the incredible power that each of our individual minds plays in our health and happiness, we gain new insights into ourselves, what it means to be a person, and what we can do about our lived experience. Today I'm going to talk about some of the first basic ideas you need to know to begin reclaiming your life from chronic pain and suffering or ongoing disruptive or sometimes incapacitating symptoms. So why am I talking to you about this? The thing is, I was a chronic pain sufferer myself. And it became very important to me once I did recover because it was such a miraculous thing to bring the information that I found out to everyone else. It also is the case that I found out a lot of information in books and reading and talking to people, but I also found out a lot of information just figuring it out myself. Now, I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but that is kind of what happened. I suffered from 8 years of chronic back pain. When I say that, I want to be clear. I had pain every day. It never stopped. When I would take Advil, that was the only time when I would get a reduction in pain, but it was pretty much always there. My muscles were tight. I had muscle spasms multiple times a day for the first year and a half or maybe 2 years. It was the most excruciating pain I've ever been in. And I couldn't believe it that when I discovered Dr. Sarno, that it came from the mind. Now, let me be clear. This is not saying this is in your head or you're making it up. What happens in the mind becomes real in the body. Now, I'm going to explain more about that as we go. But the first thing I wanted to talk about is, why is this podcast called Crushing Doubt? Well, crushing doubt has a double meaning. You can use crushing to be an adjective. When you use it as an adjective, that's what I experienced in those first 8 years. It was crushing doubt. I didn't believe I could get better, and I had no reason to believe I'd get better. I had gone to doctors, I had gone to acupuncturists, I had gone to physical therapy, I had gone to chiropractors. I would have gone to a witch doctor, anybody, to try to figure out how to get better. And I really did not have a sense that I was going to get better. But when you use crushing doubt, or when you use the word crushing to be a verb, that's when we're starting to do something about that doubt. What I didn't realize is that I needed to get to a point where I did not have doubt about what this was about, but I didn't even know what it was about. And I'm a psychologist, so I had an inkling that this was something in the mind becoming real in the body. When I read Dr. Sarno, I read Mind Over Back Pain first, then I read his last book, The Divided Mind. I highly recommend these books as background information. And they brought me to a certain point. But I found that even after reading them, one of the keys was to alleviate my doubt. So let's talk about what a mind-body issue is. A mind-body issue is very real in the body, but it is caused by an emotional experience originally. The onset of a symptom is emotional in nature, and it's not a small deal. It's not like, oh, I ordered this dinner and I got the wrong food. You're not going to get a mind-body issue from that. But you could from a falling out with a loved one. You could from a happy event even, a graduation, something that's scary. So an emotional upheaval can lead to symptoms. And it's very important that I say this. It's the kind of thing that usually happens when we're not aware of the impact of that thing on our lives. So it doesn't have to be something that we're totally unconsciously aware of, that we just don't have any idea about. It can be something we know about well. As an example, the death of my father has played a big role in my life. I talk about it all the time. I knew that was true. What I didn't know is just how deep it ran. And my back pain began when I was 28 years old. My father died when he was 29 years old. These things are not accidents. It's not always going to be that clear cut, but that's the kind of thing that you want to start to look for. What happens is the mind gets into a place where we are afraid, suffering, concerned, have questions, or at some kind of crossroads, and it stresses us out, and we have a fight or flight response. It's like a lion is chasing us, and the brain does not distinguish. If you think about it, you can have the same amount of anxiety, really, if you were being chased by a lion or if you were asking a pretty girl out, and in my case, when I was a teenager, that sort of thing. I was probably even more scared of that. So, I want to keep explaining how these kinds of things work and how it emerges. Now, you guys probably have all kinds of comments, and I want you to put them below because I will answer them personally. If you click subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, then you can keep up with when I have new content coming out. But I really want to hear from you, so put your comments below. Getting back to things, let's talk about what types of things can come from a mind-body experience. This is something that I also came to on my own. The fact is, the mind can create anything that the body can do. My rule of thumb, and I did come up with this on my own, is that if the body can do it for one thing, it can do it for another. What do I mean by that? If you can get a bloody nose because you got punched in the nose, you can also get a bloody nose because the body can do it. If the body can do it, it can do it for mind-body purposes also. Just happened to me recently. I got a bloody nose. I was thinking about it. I hit on what the emotional issue was, and the bloody nose actually stopped. I'm not saying it always is going to work this way. It's not so cut and dry and simple all the time. But the basic idea is that if the body can do it, it can do it for mind-body reasons. You can throw up for mind-body reasons. You can have diarrhea for mind-body reasons. You can have muscle cramps for mind-body reasons. You can have headaches for mind-body reasons. You can have dry mouth for mind-body reasons. You can have dry eyes. I could go on and on. Head to toe, your entire body can do things that the mind can co-opt if something's going on. So let's get to why does this start? It does start in the emotional realm. Dr. John Sarno did a great job laying out how emotional life can lead to physical changes. There's also a book by Candace Pert called Molecules of Emotion that's excellent at describing what happens in the body when an emotion happens. And actually, there's tons of books like this. Bernie Siegel talks about it. There's Herbert Benson is another one. He talks about meditation. There's all kinds of books that talk about what happens in the body. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo. These are all great resources, and you can find these on my website. I'll put them below. I'll keep giving you guys ideas of how to deal with these things. But the bottom line when it comes to emotions is that the onset of the symptom is always driven by emotion, and the timing is always exact. Now, looking back, you may not be able to know. Looking back over 8 years of back pain, I wasn't able to pinpoint what it was. I did have some ideas, but the good news is you don't need to know that. That's just the way that you can identify if a symptom started a long time ago or if there was an uptick in that symptom. You want to look at the big emotional themes of your life, about mortality, about changes, about your key relationships. It's not going to be about something small. Now, here's where I come to differ with a lot of people in the mind-body field. We all have our separate ideas. There's a lot of very helpful things that people bring. One of the things that I bring is that I've been through a lot of it myself. And doubt came to be something that I understood to be key. When I had a lot of fear or a lot of doubt, the symptoms were worse. In fact, when I got past having fear, that was one of the reasons I stopped having spasms. And I can tell you that a back spasm is about as bad a thing as you can have from the perspective of pain. It was one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. In fact, a lot of people will say to me, how can this be from the mind when it is this painful? I actually have the opposite perspective on it. When it is this painful, it's more likely to be from the mind. It is a sign that it is from the mind because emotional pain hurts worse than physical pain. You can break a bone and it hurts, and I've done it. I have broken a bone, and I can tell you my back spasms hurt much worse than the broken bone. The broken bone was not comfortable, I'll give you that. But I knew it was going to heal. I didn't have to have the doubt that we have with chronic pain. As a society, we have brought a lot of doubt to people. We're not giving people the reason it's happening. And my job, and I want to enlist all of you and everyone in society to be a good scientist, to not accept random theories. We're not going to do that. We're going to be good scientists and find out what we can about why this is happening. Now, when you reduce doubt, what ends up happening is that fight or flight response comes down and things start to get better. You start to believe that you can get better. How do you believe, though? We're not looking for a leap of faith. We are looking for knowledge. We want to get science and logic on your side. When you look at these things, you're going to see that actually None of the things we've been told were adding up. I know it's shocking, but it really is true. If you look at it, none of the things we've been being told are true. As an example, herniated discs do not cause back pain. We've seen study after study that show there is no correlation between an MRI on the back and pain. Now, this is shocking. We hear this all the time, that that's not true. It even seems logical that a herniated disc would cause pain. Turns out it's not true. If we look at science and logic from all the different angles, which is exactly what I do, and it's what I'm doing in the book that I'm writing, also called Crushing Doubt, coming out soon, we can reduce that doubt pretty much to zero. But I do like to say this. The double meaning of crushing doubt means you cannot use crushing as a verb without accepting that there's the adjective crushing first. You got to let in doubt to be able to get rid of it. Now let's talk a little bit about acute versus chronic pain. Most people come to me because they're having some kind of chronic issue. They've been at it for a long time. Either it keeps coming back regularly or they have it all the time. An acute pain process is something that doesn't last that long. Generally, people don't like that, but they can get past it just fine. Not that big of a deal. The thing about chronic pain, and this is something that I work on with doubt, is it's actually a moment-to-moment experience. Chronic pain can be looked at as something structural that can't move, like a herniated disc. What are you going to do about it? That leaves you with no hope, full of doubt. You have questions if you're even lucky, but you probably have come to be resolved that there's nothing I can do about it. In fact, medicine often says your job is to learn to tolerate it. Well, that is not true, because what is actually happening with chronic pain, at least of a mind-body variety, which is well over 99.999999999999999% of chronic pain, comes from a mind-body issue. So what I want to help you guys think about is that these are acute moments, second by second by second by second by second. And if you stretch those out and there's no break in them, they look chronic. You have no reason for hope. You have all the reason in the world for doubt. Watching this, you even have reason to doubt me. Why would you trust me? Well, what I would encourage you is watch me over time. Hear the things that I say over time. I don't expect you to trust me right now. I expect you to be open to it and see if it makes sense. What I find is what I came to made much more sense than anything that I had seen before. What Dr. Sarno was saying made sense, but it didn't go far enough, and that's why I applied doubt. Now, up next, I'm going to talk about the other aspect that I bring to the table that's different than my colleagues in the mind-body field, and that is something that I call power. Some people like to, they want to change the name because maybe they're not comfortable with it. They call it strength or they call it confidence. Lots of different things you can do about it. But the bottom line is, another thing that I can help with, and I'll talk extensively about, is how you can be powerful in your life with yourself. Now, that can actually be a mind-blowing experience when people come to think about this. You probably haven't thought about the fact that you have a relationship with yourself. And at every given moment, you are either feeling powerful or you're not. This isn't even something that people are used to paying attention to. Not even therapists tend to talk about this that much. Certainly there is some of that. But one of the things I found in mind-body work is that it's most helpful when medical doctors can wade into the psychological field some, and us psychologists can wade into the physical, physiology enough to be able to understand what is happening. So when you're feeling powerful with yourself, the fight or flight system is not nearly as operative. You're feeling more relaxed. When you feel powerful, you feel good. That's another way of defining it. If you're feeling good, you're probably feeling powerful. If you're not feeling good, you're probably not. And it can be as simple as one of those moments where you're talking to a friend and they're saying something that you don't like and it's making you feel worse than them in some way. So there's power in relation to yourself, there's power in relation to other people, and there's also power in relation to your symptoms. There's a lot of talk in the mind-body community about emotions, and that's extremely important, but it's also limiting because that tends to speak to the beginning of the symptom or an uptick in the symptom, but it doesn't get to why we get stuck. So let's talk about what it means to change your mindset and why it changes your physiology. I've alluded to this before in different forms, but the bottom line is all of the work that I do is to make you feel more comfortable with you. And when you feel more comfortable with you and the world and your symptoms, and you have your questions answered to your satisfaction, I want to underline that, to your satisfaction. It's not me who gets to decide whether your questions are answered. If you still have questions, they're valid questions. Ask them all. In fact, put them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer them directly. My job is to answer questions, bring information until it makes sense to you. And I have to work with each person's individual mind to do that. Now I want to talk about plateaus. What I mean by that is sometimes people get better to a certain point. In fact, it is a kind of rule of thumb in mind-body work that when people are getting better, the symptoms start to shift around. Now, what I'm talking about in that is when you're having a chronic issue and it's immovable, and then it starts to shift around to other symptoms because you're starting to think of it as a mind-body process, that's a sign of progress. But there's other ways that this presents itself. Some people have different kinds of symptoms, and it just cycles through. Plateaus are different for those people. Plateaus are about one symptom stuck the way it is, and then you're not getting past a certain point. You've gotten better, but not all the way. What I've come to understand about that is usually about the power column. I just alluded to columns and realized I hadn't even told you the way I think about it. There are 3 columns in the way that I work with things. The emotions column, the doubt column, and the power column. And each one has corresponding action steps that we put with them. These are going to be kind of rules of thumb or helpful ways of thinking about something. Really want to underline that. It's not all actions. Thinking a different way is an action. So if I'm going to give you action steps, it could be think about it this way. And you may say, no, that one doesn't work for me. But I have hundreds of ways of thinking about things because I had to do them all. The fact is, the more questions you have, the more answers you're going to get if you keep at it. Now, if you want to get started on this work, one nice way of doing it is I have a couple of PDFs that you can send away for. You can write to me at Dan@Crushing Doubt. I have something called the TMS Basics PDF. TMS is the terminology that Sarno gave for tension myositis syndrome. What that is, in my book, is a mind-body issue or a mind-body syndrome. Tension myositis just referred to the tension of the muscles. But what we found is it extends to the whole body. So this PDF has all the basics of how to think about it. It's similar to what I just said here, but there's some details. There are studies in it. There's helpful information. And I've even found that this PDF alone has gotten people some pain relief. I also have an action steps PDF. This is another document. It's longer, and it has about 140 different action steps. Not all of them are going to be for you. Not all of them are even going to apply to you. And some people find this one positively overwhelming. So you might want to email me to see if this one's a good fit for you. When my book comes out, it's all going to be condensed in the book, and you'll have it there, and we're working on that now. The other one is the troubleshooting PDF. This is one for those people who are having chronic symptoms and they get stuck on a plateau. What it is it identifies 9 major issues that people have that get them stuck in a certain pain profile that they can't move past. So that's the basic information. I could talk about this for hours. I have before, and I will continue to do so. But I hope that you guys will follow me so that you can get what you need. We are presenting the information in such a way that's easier for you to see and catalog and revisit. So if you need to play this again, by all means. I do want to say, repetition is very key in this work. You want to go over and over the material because you want to have no doubt. How do you have no doubt? You have to really believe, not as an article of faith, but as an article of information, that you can get better from this. If you want to be notified when new episodes come out, click subscribe, hit like, and ring the bell. To get our newsletter or get the PDFs, head over to crushingdoubt.org. Be on the lookout for links to sign up for our upcoming seminars. I am here to help you resolve your doubts on your journey and find powerful, peaceful, and happy living.